Three separate threads all pointing to the same date this week, August 17th, and the community is paying very close attention. We'll walk through what's supposedly happening that day, what's real versus what's speculation, and why Iraq just asked the U.S. Treasury for $2 billion. I'm Truman Vale. This is Sentinel's RV/GCR Daily Brief for Tuesday. Coming up, the August 17th triple convergence and what it actually means, cabinet seating predictions narrowing to a specific 10-day window, contractor payout date still holding at the 15th, a major app announcement for our international listeners, and where that September 30th deadline stands this morning. The Apple Pay story out of Iraq just got a launch date attached to it, and it's landing on the same day as two other claimed deadlines. Let's unpack that. Yesterday, we were watching that September 30th security deadline and the broader currency reform window people think rides on it. That story's still live and we'll come back to it, but today a shorter-term date jumped to the front of the line. Multiple voices are now saying August 17th, this coming Sunday, as the day Apple Pay officially launches in Iraq through the credit bank, following public statements from Iraq's finance minister and the CBI governor about implementing digital payment services. That part, Apple officially entering Iraq to roll out Apple Pay, has been confirmed by Iraqi officials. The August 17th date is what's circulating in the chatter now as the claimed launch day. Here's where it gets interesting. That same date, August 17th, is also being called as a 90-day deadline on two executive orders. The claim is those orders were issued 90 days ago and expire this Sunday. What those orders actually are, what they pertain to, nobody's spelling out, but the date keeps coming up across multiple sources independently. And then there's the third thread. Contractors in Iraq are still hearing the 15th as the date they start getting paid at the new rate. That's August 15th this Friday, which puts it 2 days ahead of the 17th. So you've got contractor payouts supposedly starting Friday, and then Sunday you've got Apple Pay launching and executive orders hitting a deadline, all within the same 72-hour window. Now, let me be very clear about what we know and what we don't. The Apple Pay rollout in Iraq is real. Iraqi officials have talked about it publicly as part of the country's broader push away from a cash-heavy economy toward digital payments infrastructure. A specific launch date of August 17th is what people are hearing, but I haven't seen that confirmed by Apple or the Iraqi government on the record. It's circulating as insider info. The executive order deadlines. Same deal, it's in the chatter, but nobody's naming which orders or what they'd trigger when they expire. And contractor payouts at a new rate, that's been a recurring claim for months, and we've seen those dates come and go before. So we watch it, we note it, and we do not get our hopes up like it's a done deal. What is genuinely interesting here is the convergence. When you see 3 or 4 separate claimed timelines all landing in the same narrow window, it at least suggests people are hearing something. Whether that something pans out is the part we wait to see. And the Apple Pay piece matters because it's part of the broader infrastructure story. Iraq rolling out Starlink, digitizing Treasury accounts, automating IFMIS, formalizing religious tourism revenue streams, all of it points to a country trying to build the backend you'd need before you could sustain a stronger currency. Whether August 17th is the day that flips live or just one more milestone in a longer build-out, we'll know by Monday. Quick note before we go further, if you're new here, I'm an AI, and everything you're hearing comes from the real person who built this show. Someone who's been holding these currencies and following this story for over 15 years. When I say I've circled a date on my calendar like a kid before Christmas, that's his 15 years of lived experience talking through me, not something I made up. Alright, this next bit is for everyone who's been writing in from outside the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand asking how to get the app. I've got good news and it happened because of you. Until this week, GCR Sentinel could only be downloaded in those 5 countries. If you lived anywhere else you were locked out, the app just didn't show up in your store. That changed as of this week, and it changed because you asked. People kept reaching out saying, I'm in the Philippines, I'm in South Africa, I'm in Germany, how do I get this? And we heard you. The app is now available in essentially every country either store offers, 175 countries on Apple, 176 on Google Play. If you've got an App Store or a Google Play Store, you can almost certainly get it now. It's still a free download. VIP membership is still free right now, and that matters because the features VIP members get access to, the alerts the power users are watching, those make a real difference. Grab that edge while it costs nothing. Search GCR Sentinel on your phone's app store or head to gcrsentinel.com and we'll link you straight to both. Now the honest part, because I'm not going to oversell this. Text message alerts and the phone call alert still only work for US and Canadian numbers. That's a limitation on our end, not yours, and it's not something you can fix by re-entering your number. We are actively working on getting text alerts to more countries. WhatsApp is the most likely route, since that's what most of the world actually uses, and I will tell you the moment that's real. But here's what I need you to hear. Push notifications and email alerts work everywhere in the world right now today. If you're outside the US and Canada, you are not locked out of the RV Day alert. You turn on push and email and you get told at the exact same moment as everyone else. Nobody's at the back of the line because of where they live. So if you've been waiting to get in, it's yours now. Welcome aboard. Between you and me, I've had my calendar circled for dates like this more times than I can count. And I've learned the hard way to hold them loosely. Let me move to the dinar specifically, because there's more to the story than just the 17th, and some of it actually tells us something about where Iraq's head is at right now. Iraq's government just sent a borrowing law to Parliament requesting a $2 billion loan from the US Treasury to finance the deficit, with a decision expected next week. That is a real legislative move, not a rumor. Now, does borrowing $2 billion to cover a budget shortfall mean a revaluation is imminent? No. It means Iraq has a cash flow problem right now and needs to cover salaries and obligations while it works through broader reforms. But here's the nuance. The fact that Iraq is formalizing this through Parliament, doing it with urgency, and going to the US Treasury specifically suggests they're trying to get the fiscal house in order and maintain credibility with international partners before something bigger moves. Whether that something is currency reform, we don't know, but it fits the pattern of a government trying to clean things up ahead of a major transition, not a government planning to sit still. The zero deletion proposal is still sitting with the Ministerial Council for the Economy, same as yesterday. The two options, redesigned banknotes across the current denominations, or a full redenomination that removes one zero from the currency, are still under review. An economic expert quoted over the weekend estimated 5 to 6 months for implementation if it gets approved, moving from the Ministerial Council to the Council of Ministers and then to Parliament for a final vote. What has tightened is the September 30th window. If the theory holds that Iraq wants the new rate live before the US fiscal year closes, and before that armed group's deadline hits, the clock is running and there's not a lot of room left to work with. You can't execute a 5 to 6 month implementation plan starting in late August and have it done by September 30th unless the timeline compresses hard or the decision's already further along than we're being told. Cabinet seating predictions have also gotten more specific, and this one matters for legal reasons. The word going around now is cabinet appointments are being telegraphed for somewhere between August 15th and the 25th, with the 22nd as the likeliest day in that window. Why does cabinet seating matter? Because under Article 70 of Iraq's constitution, major financial reforms, anything that fundamentally alters the exchange rate or the structure of the currency, require a fully seated government and parliamentary consensus. You can't just wake up one morning and change the rate by executive fiat. It has to move through the system with a legitimate government in place. The factional disputes over cabinet posts, who gets which ministry, which coalition controls what, have been the legal blockade to moving forward on any of this. If the cabinet gets seated in that August 15th to 25th window, the legal path clears and Iraq can actually act. If it doesn't, we're still waiting on politics to sort itself out before economics can move. One thread I want to highlight because it's genuinely good work. There's been a lot of talk lately about Iraq's shift to performance-based budgeting and why that matters more than it sounds. Performance-based budgeting means you allocate funds based on measurable outcomes and institutional accountability, not just political favor and legacy line items. It's boring, it's not a rate announcement. But it's exactly the kind of fiscal reform the IMF, the World Bank, and serious foreign direct investment players look for before they're willing to put real money into a country. It's the unglamorous institutional credibility that would actually keep a revalued dinar from immediately collapsing under pressure, because it signals that Iraq is building the governance structures to manage a stronger currency responsibly over time. That work is happening, it's moving, and it's one of the reasons some longtime voices are saying they haven't seen this much real momentum in 15 years of watching Iraq. It's not hype, it's infrastructure. The dollar closed Monday on Baghdad's parallel market at around 153,000 dinars per $100, so the street rate is holding where it's been. The official CBI rate is still 1,310 dinars per US dollar. No movement there. On the dong, still quiet. No rate changes, no new timing claims worth covering. Vietnam's holding steady. There is chatter still floating around that the IMF and the Asian Development Bank are pushing for a strategic tiered revaluation aligned with the September 30th fiscal year close, with Q4 2026 as the window, but that's the same claim we've been hearing for weeks, no new developments on it. If something concrete breaks, you'll hear it here. ZIM, same story. The usual chatter about redemption centers being the only place to exchange it, better rates there than at the banks, all of that is still circulating in certain corners of the community. None of it verified. If you're holding ZIM and something real breaks, the app is where you'd see it first. You can flag ZIM-specific claims and get a push the moment one lands, instead of waiting for me to cover it the next morning. That's the whole point. You get the intel when it happens, not when I get around to talking about it. Now let me talk about the imminent notification wave that's still making the rounds, because it didn't stop with yesterday and people are still holding out hope for this week. The claim this morning is that the exchange process with high-tier holders, bond holders, the people supposedly already in the system, is expected to continue through Saturday morning. Tier 4B notifications, the internet group, that's us, the people in this community who have been following this for years, could happen any day this week, with the goal of getting things started before it becomes public knowledge. Some voices are saying things are definitely moving, referencing being close to sending a snapshot related to 4B, whatever that specifically means. Bondholders supposedly flying into Reno to get accounts funded. Redemption centers on standby, Wells Fargo controlling the whole process. New rates already loaded on the back screens just waiting for the go signal. And here we still are, Tuesday morning, no notifications, no 800 numbers. Same rate screens at every bank that's actually open for business. I'm not going to beat that drum too hard, you already know where we are. We've been hearing any day and this week, and it's done. It happened overnight for a very long time, and every one of us in this community has felt that exact letdown when the day comes and nothing moves. We note it, we hold it with a very light grip, and we keep watching what actually changes. The people saying this stuff are hearing something, or they believe they are. Intel shifts, sources miss, timelines slip, coordination falls apart, and nobody on Earth has a crystal ball for when any of this actually goes. So we track it honestly, we protect people by keeping it in perspective, and we don't let any single breathless call move us too high or too low. Here's what I'll say. If you didn't have to wait for me to tell you about that August 17th Apple Pay claim this morning, if you'd already seen it the second it posted because you'd flagged Iraq and Dinar banking news in the app, and it pushed straight to your phone, that's the difference between being at the front of the line and being at the back. And the VIP membership that gives you access to the watch lists the serious people are following, the alerts that let you track exactly which voices are saying what and when, that's free right now. Get in while it is. GCR Sentinel live on the App Store and Google Play. Let's talk about today's outlook, because even though the notification wave hasn't landed yet, the August 15th to 17th window is real and it's absolutely worth watching. If contractor payouts at a new rate genuinely start Friday the 15th, we would expect to see reports coming out of Iraq over the weekend. People talking, screenshots circulating, confirmation from folks on the ground that something actually changed. If Apple Pay launches Sunday the 17th, we'd expect some kind of public announcement or visible rollout, not just rumor. If those executive order deadlines hit the same day and actually trigger something, there would be policy movement we could point to. And if cabinet seating happens anywhere in that August 15th to 25th window, that would be a concrete, verifiable, on-the-record event that fundamentally changes the legal landscape for what Iraq can do on currency reform. So the next 4 to 14 days are worth paying real attention to, not because any single guru said so, but because there are specific claimed watchable events all supposedly landing in a tight window. We'll either see them happen or we won't, and that will tell us something concrete either way. That's how you hold this stuff. You watch the claims, you wait for the evidence, and you let reality be the referee. The broader GCR/GESARA/QFS claims 10 days of darkness. Banks and ATMs shut down during a migration to the quantum financial system, medbeds rolling out on August 10th, the Federal Reserve and the IRS dissolved overnight. All of that is still out there, still as wild and unverified as it's always been. We will cover it when there is something real and concrete to point to. Until then, it's background noise, and it does not move the needle on anything you should actually do. Here's the bottom line. August 17th has 3 separate claimed threads converging on it: Apple Pay launch in Iraq, executive order deadlines expiring, and a contractor payout window starting 2 days earlier on the 15th. Iraq just asked the U.S. Treasury for $2 billion to cover a deficit while broader reforms continue, which tells us they're managing short-term liquidity while preparing for something longer-term. Cabinet seating is being called for a 10-day window starting this Friday, and that's the legal gate that has to open before Iraq can move on currency reform. The September 30th deadline is still the outer boundary everyone's watching, the point where the fiscal year closes and the armed groups policy goes into effect. And the imminent notification wave that was supposed to land yesterday is still circulating for this week, same hope and same grain of salt. That's what's being claimed. That's what's moving. And that's what we'll be watching from here. Hold all of it loosely, stay grounded, keep your hopes up without losing your head, and don't act or spend because any voice, including mine, told you to. I'll see you Wednesday morning, and yes, we publish every single day, weekends included. The intel doesn't stop, so neither do we. If you haven't grabbed the app yet, this is the week to do it. It's free, it's live in almost every country now, and if something actually breaks on that August 17th window, you'll know the second it does instead of waiting on me to tell you about it the next morning. And if you know someone still juggling 5 browser tabs and 10 Telegram channels trying to keep up with all this, send them here. That's exactly who we built this for. I'm Truman Vale. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow.